Hey guys, Omni here. Yesterday saw the release of Scoob straight to digital platforms, bypassing its theatrical run altogether. And given the current climate going on in the world right now, I definitely understand. I was going to see this movie regardless, but I decided to pick it up last night so I could give it a watch and give you guys my thoughts on it here today. Even from the trailers, it got me intrigued. You know, they were diving into the how Scooby met Shaggy and how the gang kind of got together. That seemed to me like a core concept of what the trailers were presenting, as well as a flash forward to seeing the gang older and even broadening into a greater Hanna-Barbera universe. And I thought that was a great prospect, because Scooby-Doo out of the Hanna-Barbera collection, aside from the Flintstones and the Jetsons, have really been the one that has really most strongly stood the test of time. And a lot of the characters they showed off in the trailer, there was a lot of references to some other characters like Magilla Gorilla, but Blue Falcon, Dynamite, and Dick Dastardly were front and center in some of these trailers. And I was like, oh wow, we're going to be introducing some of these characters to a new generation, some people who may have never heard of these people. I was curious to see how that was going to be done and how they were going to tackle this new storyline with the gang, what kind of mystery we would have afoot, and how much of this would be balanced when and where. And I gotta say, like, from a lot of what is in the trailers that is about the gang, about Scooby and Shaggy, Fred, Velma, and Daphne, is really the first 15 minutes of the film, them meeting that gang. And that's some of the best part of it. The first 15 minutes of this film is a really good Scooby-Doo Mystery Inc. film. And I would have liked that to have been the majority of this movie. Unfortunately, the thing that I think this did is something in the vein of Batman v Superman, something that the recent Mummy did, is that I knew what they were doing. In the trailers, it seemed very clear that what they were doing was using Scooby-Doo to open the door to possibly do other Hanna-Barbera properties and create this cinematic universe. And Scooby, Shaggy, and the gang really took a back seat to that, because this wasn't a mystery. This wasn't really a Scooby-Doo movie. It ended up being about lineages. It was about this grand mystery of the world. This goes back to ancient times, prophecies and blood lineages, sky beams. It was a Marvel movie. This was really more of a Blue Falcon versus Dick Dastardly movie than anything. And the gang was just kind of there. They had plot relevance, sure, but the plot wasn't really about them. And honestly, I gotta say, Dick Dastardly's motivations, I actually kind of get behind and understand, and it's you can kind of sympathize with it. I thought that was interesting. There's some good elements in this. It definitely got some laughs out of me for sure. The animation is really good, and a lot of the voice acting's really well done. But overall, I think it misses a lot of the point. It really abused, in my opinion, the Scooby-Doo aspect of it. That should have been front and center. And the gang is even separated for 2/3 of the film, even more than 2/3 of the film. You don't have Mystery Inc. for the majority of the film. We have Scooby and Shaggy collectively, and you have like these second act, third act breakup scenes in a lot of films like this, but they do that in the first 15 minutes, and then Scooby and Shaggy are separated from the rest of the gang for a huge chunk of the movie. And what works, I think, the best about these characters is how they all work together and create this dynamic unit. Of course, Shaggy and Scooby are mostly the most popular characters out of the gang, but I think they work best when counterbalanced by another group, which is why I think Mystery Inc. as a gang works really well. I feel like they all balance each other out. Scooby and Shaggy are very eccentric. Velma is the smart one. And then Fred and Daphne level the playing field by just being like the most regular characters out of it. I think they really round each other out. So you don't have that for a lot of this movie. And there's a lot of Hanna-Barbera stuff in this. And like I said, Scooby and the gang, I think, take a huge back seat in this. And like I said, it's not a bad film. It's pretty good. It's enjoyable. It's passable. It has some themes of how do you fit in your relevance? What do you bring to the table? What is your contribution to this? Jealousy. There's a lot of themes that they lightly touch on that doesn't really get much farther than that. You know, friendship, changing over time, growing, evolving, coming into your own. There's a lot of things that they touch on, but it's all kind of sacrificed for the next entry. This is one of those situations where I think this movie's plot and performance, and I feel like, you know, the people that this is targeted for might not care, are more than likely not going to care. But for us, like, we can see the manipulation there. It's really just a product being used to set up other movies. Not even other Scooby-Doo movies. This is really set up to branch out and just reintroduce the world to Hanna-Barbera and a lot of characters that they may not be accustomed to. And in a way, I can appreciate that, because if they do that and if those movies are really good, I feel like maybe that sacrifice might be not in vain. That I think that we might get some good stories, like, because I mean, well, there's some hints and references to Jabberjaw, Magilla Gorilla, Yogi, Johnny Quest, even, that comes about in this. And I'm like, oh man, Johnny freaking Quest, do it. Hell yes. Give me a Johnny Quest animated movie, or even a live action movie that they were originally talking about that had Zac Efron and Rock in the cast. That got scrapped a long time ago. They had talked about that like 8 years ago, and that never went anywhere. That's a good, bring that around. But the thing I was looking forward to was Scooby and the gang, and they got dropped in this movie. And I feel like they each, again, they didn't deepen any of the characters any more than we've seen. I think I think Shaggy actually had the most depth, and it was only by an extra like foot. Like if you were wading in the kiddie pool, you just got a little bit up to your neck, a little bit more. You kind of sank down into the pre-existing waters a little bit. But everything else stays very surface level as for, I think, the exaggerations of what we expect the characters to be. And there's even a line in this movie too, and there's a lot of references. There's a lot of pop culture, current day references where they want to make sure that we're all perfectly aware that this version of these characters are millennials, because they straight call them that multiple times. There's some dabs, there's some music choices that comes in, but then you have a character earlier in the movie when Scooby and Shaggy end up with Blue Falcon, who's like, you know, you see it in the trailer when Fred, Daphne, and Velma go up to this woman. They're like, have you seen our friend? Blah, blah, blah. She's like, she's describing Shaggy. He was like, he says like at the beginning of every sentence. You know, he's scatterbrained. It was like, it's like what a middle-aged man thinks a hippie teenager sounds like. I feel like that's a good joke. It got a chuckle out of me because honestly, that is true. But then again, this movie is doing the exact same thing by being like, this is what I think kids are into and think is relevant and think is funny today. And it just seems so ham-fisted. And like, it's trying to be witty and make a commentary on how this was made before while doing the exact same thing here. I don't know. Like I said, the movie's not bad. There's some fun stuff in here. There's some good moments, some great acting. The animation is really good, and you'll get some laughs out of it. But it is definitely not as good of a story as I would have expected, or that I think Scooby and the gang deserve. And again, that they were really sidelined in their own movie for the narrative and the prospect of future films that will not include them. I don't know. I'm mixed on it because, like I said, I care about these characters. I grew up with them. I grew up with the characters they're reintroducing into the world, and I feel like it was a little dirty, a little Dick Dastardly, if you will. I don't know. Anyway, that's my thoughts on this movie. If you've seen it, let me know. Like I'm not poo-pooing on the movie, even though I am, but it's not bad. It isn't bad. It is intended for children. But of course, when you watch it at my age, you see the corporateness of it, and it's just hard to miss. especially when it's something you grew up with and you loved. And I hope that kids that are watching this find something in it that I didn't see, at least, and they can appreciate it. And who knows? In the end, like I said, if it reintroduces a lot of characters that have just been lost to time, to the decades, to a new generation, and then they get to be and have fun with these characters, go on adventures with these characters that they otherwise would not have had these interactions with unless they had like Boomerang or cable on their cable network or something like that. I'll take it. I'll take it because there's a lot of enjoyment you can have with characters like Speed Buggy, Jabberjaw, Josie and the Pussycats, Johnny Quest, for one. Do that. Do it. Give me Johnny Quest. Anyway, there's so much more out there, man. And I don't know. I don't want to be like, kids these days don't know what they're missing. But kinda. I don't know. Maybe it's not as glorified as I remember it. It might be rose-tinted glasses, but who knows? We'll see. We'll see how this all pans out from here. What did you guys think of the movie? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. We'll carry on the conversation after the video, but thank you all for tuning in. I hope you are safe, taking care of yourselves and others, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Take care, everybody.